Hey, what's up, Stay Tuners? It's your good friend Jimbo here, letting you know that today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. I recently joined as a member and you can too. Apply today and let them know that you heard it from Stay Tuned Sports and you start earning today. That's podgo.co at podgo.co.
Heard the rest. Now here's the best Stay Tuned Sports Podcast.
And hello there, all you Stay Tuners. Welcome back to another episode of Stay Tuned Sports. It's your good friend Jimbo here, back again with another decent show for you guys. Big news in the NFL with the Julio Jones trade going on. Some baseball talk, how we're going to be screwing up baseball even more. I mean, just when you think that they can't mess it up anymore, they just say, here, hold my beer. But then we're going to recap some of the Stay Tuned Sports Podcast Truck Series race from last week. But before all that, make sure you head over to staytunedsports.net to follow our social media accounts are on the right hand side there. Just click follow them, do whatever they say to do. We have a merch tab up top there for any hats or t-shirts to help support the show. And we have actually now just joined Buy Me a Coffee. So if you head over to www.buymeacoffee.com/stsports, if you think I'm doing good and you want to quote buy me a beer, it's just like a donation type deal. I appreciate it. Any of the money I obviously just put right back in the show. I don't pocket any of it. And want to give a quick shout out though to Ben Adams. He was our first donator, if you want to call it that. And I just want to say thank you, Ben, for supporting the show. And hopefully many other people will show their support as well. So kicking off the show, since we talked about Ben Adams, let's talk a little bit about the truck series that happened this past Friday. Pretty good race. They were at Atlanta this past week. Couple of stories that came out of there. Colin Olery, he took the pole and he decided to take the ButtKicker challenge, which he's only the second driver this year to do that. James Lorello was the last one. He was unsuccessful last time, and unfortunately, Colin Olery was unsuccessful this time too, but he actually did pretty good though. I mean, so what the ButtKicker challenge is, whoever wins the pole of the race has the option to start in last place instead of first, where they would normally start at the pole, and have to drive through the whole gang of drivers, cars, whatever, and win the race. If he wins the race, there's like a little prize pool. So this past week going into the race, it was up to $40, and unfortunately, like I said, Colin did not succeed, but he did end up finishing it in 10th. So I think he started back right around 30, maybe 33 or so. So I mean, to still finish 10th, that's pretty impressive there. JT Poole pretty much dominated the whole race. He led pretty much the most laps, if not pretty close to all the laps. But the last few laps kind of fell off a little bit there, and didn't even actually get the top three. Jason Gracias was the winner, with Mike Tellier coming in number 2 and Jeff Price coming in number 3. Jeff Price, if you guys go back to watch it, you head over to YouTube on 3Y TV. Jeff Price, I just like his personality. I wish he could either come in third, top 3 every week, or get him up in the booth to call a race. I think he'd be pretty fun to listen to. He's a very energetic guy. Very happy to come in third place, and but like I said, it was definitely a fun race. A little bit of controversy with 2 laps to go, which, again, if you guys go back to watch it, I mean, even I thought a caution flag should have been called out. I forget who spun out, but spun out, like I said, with 2 laps to go. Normally, when it takes a couple trucks involved, a caution would come out, and for whatever reason, this time it didn't happen. Now, if the caution did come out, it would have probably made the top 3 a little bit different of an outcome than what actually did, but it is what it was. And congratulations to Jason Gracias. Once again, my 3 racers to watch, I went 1 for 3. Ben Izinga, Ben Mashburn wrecked again. I feel so bad for Ben though. He's always like all season long, he has a good truck racing, and just wrong place, wrong time. One of these races, I mean, it has to finally break loose and get him a win. And maybe this time around, this coming week, they're racing at Dega. Maybe he could break in and get that win there. So speaking of him and the 3 racers to watch for this week, he's actually one of them. Like I said, just a rough season, wrong place, wrong time most of the time. At some point, the bad luck has to end. And maybe this week. Let's see how it goes. Ben Izinga is another one. Had a really good race last week. Just unfortunately got caught up in the wreck. He's another one that doesn't have a win on the season, I believe. And again, all season he's right there, and then just unfortunately gets caught up in some nasty wrecks. So if Ben Mashburn don't win, maybe Izinga will get into the winner's column there. Anyway, the third one is Colin O'Leary, the racer that went for the ButtKicker challenge last week. I mean, to go from, like I said, 30 or 33, however many cars there were, to finish in 10th place, not only shows he has a quick car, but has patience. Was able to get through the wrecks and get up there. So they're my top 3 racers to watch for this week. Just once, I hope, I pray that I don't give them the kiss of death. So this next segment is brought to you by the movie Nobody. Father's Day no longer has to be ordinary once you bring home the non-stop action of Nobody. Bob Odenkirk stars as an ordinary dad turned lethal vigilante, and his fight for his family can now thrill yours with never-before-seen bonus content, including deleted scenes. From the writer of John Wick, Nobody is yours to own now on digital and on 4K, Blu-ray, and DVD June 22nd. And I'll tell you what, guys, I like Bob Odenkirk, especially in Better Call Saul, and seeing the clips of this movie, I can't wait to get my own copy of this movie too. So me and the wife could do a review on it on our Wine, Whiskey, and a Review podcast that airs Sunday nights. So a little college football talk here. Came out this past week that the subcommittee is expected to present a report to the higher ups of the college football committee, basically saying, what's the strengths and weaknesses of the format they have now. Should they expand to... Now, in this article, I saw them say, should they expand to 6, 8, 12, or even 16 teams for the playoffs? And I'll touch on it in a second and give my opinion about it. But at the end of the day, the committee has final say if they're going to change anything, if they're going to not change anything. So as far as should they expand, I mean, I've been saying, I would say about 2 seasons now, I think they need to expand to, I would like to see 8 teams. 6 I think would be good, because if you really think about the past 2 or 3 seasons, there's always been a little bit of controversy with that 5th place seed, or whatever you want to call it, that 5th place with the team that comes in that spot there. I think this past year was the complaint was Notre Dame shouldn't have been in there. Ohio State was another complaint that they shouldn't have been in there. So the 5th and 6th team should have moved in. But to expand it to 12 and 16 teams, I think that'd be overkill, and there'd be no way to fit all the playoffs in a season. Now, it did also say if there is any changes, it's not going to happen definitely this season, definitely not going to happen next season. So we're still looking at 2 years away from anything happening. But I really think if they go to 8 teams, I think that would be the perfect system, because it is showing that the right teams are getting in there. Is that the 4th seeded team the controversial spot? Well, yeah. And if you go back and look, a lot of times what it is because this conference isn't as strong as that conference. This championship isn't as strong as that championship. Well, this team didn't win a championship, but they did. There's a lot of moving parts to why teams should be in or aren't in. And if you go to like I said, an 8-team playoff format, set it up where conference winners make it in. If you don't win your conference, you don't get in there. Now, that's coming from me, a Notre Dame fan who is not part of any type of conference, and I still say I think you're going to see that change maybe in 2 years if they do decide to expand the format. I think that might be something Notre Dame will have to look into. This year, because of the pandemic, they joined the ACC conference and played for a conference championship, which unfortunately they lost to Clemson. But if they do 8 teams, with my thinking, Notre Dame would be out. If Notre Dame is part of the ACC conference and played for a championship and lost, they're out of playoffs. They're not making the playoffs. And I think it would make it a lot more competitive. NCAA is all about the money. I think you would get a lot more income coming in, because Stay Tuned Sports would want to sponsor one of the playoff games, playoff bowls. And I think I saw something a few months ago that if they did do a expanded team format, instead of the conference, the national title game being, I believe the week before the Super Bowl, it would actually end up playing a week after the Super Bowl. So, that is, to me, I think is the latest you want to run a playoff to, because you're halfway through February. Graduations and all that stuff is right around the corner for those kids. So I would like to see them expand to 8 teams, make it that if you win a conference championship, you're in. If you lose, you're out. Now, there's a lot of conferences out there, so it's going to be, you would have to make it like one of the all the big conferences, not like the little up here in Pennsylvania, Bloomsburg University, or whatever conference they're in. It would have to be the Big Ten and all them SECs and all that. So I would like to see them to go 8 teams. I think that'd be a perfect setup. Make the games even more competitive. And unfortunately, like I said, you won't see nothing anytime soon. It's going to be a couple seasons, about 2 seasons. And we should know within the next couple weeks if they're going to make those changes. So once again, baseball is trying to mess up baseball. For a few seasons now, they're trying to figure out ways to speed up the game, putting a pitch clock to hurry up the pitchers, limit the meetings on the mound for coaches and players, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, now the league and the Players Association is coming to an agreement that something has to be done about pitchers using illegal substances when it comes to pitching. So far this season, I believe there was at least 2, maybe 3 pitchers that have been questioned about using illegal substances, and it's kind of obvious something must be going on. Strikeouts are at an all-time high, whereas the batting average is at an all-time low in baseball. Like when I say all-time low, I mean over 100 years old all-time low. And so now baseball is coming out there. They're going to send a memo out to all the teams that these rules, even though there's already rules in place for umps to check the pitchers if they feel like they're using some type of illegal substance, but starting June 14th, they're going to start really pushing the envelope of, we're going to check you. Now remember, they want to speed the game up, okay? What the rules that are going to be enforced is pitchers will be checked randomly by umpires, with every starting pitcher likely to be checked at least 2 times a game. Now you're going to probably think, in between pitches or something like that. Well, at least this part they're using some of the common sense. They're going to wait till in between innings when the pitcher's walking off the field at some point during the game, twice a game, to check to make sure that they're not using any type of substances. And it's to the point now that batters are actually yelling at their own pitchers when they notice their own pitchers doing it. Whether it be, the strings on their gloves might have a little bit of something, or the left belt buckle, like the batters are noticing this. One management source estimated that there will be 8 to 10 random foreign substance checks per game. So, again, now there's a couple aspects of this story that I want to touch on, and this is the first part of it, of the whole slowing the game down. Okay, so you're going to check between innings, okay? You want to slow the game down, but let's just say you find out a pitcher has an illegal substance. Now, you're not even going to let him go to the dugout. You're going to probably meet him right on the first or third base line. So now, while the other team is warming up to get ready for the inning, now you're slowing up the pitcher that's warming up because this pitcher has illegal substance, and you're trying to decide what to do. Now you're slowing the game down. Which, as far as penalties, they're talking about suspending the player for 10 days without pay. One owner said that they're afraid that the player association will file grievances. And pretty much all the other owners said with the response of, this is not something we gotta take lightly. We gotta really lay the law down here that cheating is no longer going to be allowed in baseball. I mean, as far as that side of it with the punishments, I'm okay with, because if you guys think about players testing positive for PEDs, I think the first offense is like 20 games or something like that. Then the second offense is 80 games, and then third offense you're out of baseball. So, you know, if you don't want cheating, fine. You gotta be strict with the punishments, and I think that'd be a fair punishment, 10 days without pay. But this brings me to my next point. I'm paying, so I got 2 kids, okay? If I'm going to a baseball game with just me and them 2, I'm easily gonna be dropping $500-$600. Let them play with the steroids. Let them use the illegal substance, because I want to see an entertaining game. Whether it be 500-foot home runs or a curveball that goes from first base all the way over to third base with the curve. You know, baseball is just killing itself by nitpicking all the little things now. I know all the old timers are saying, well, you know, it's about the integrity of the game. Well, listen, if you don't change, you ain't gonna be around much longer. And you're probably like, you know, Jimbo, that's just stupid, you know, having, you know, roid heads and this and that. 90s baseball was one of the high points of Major League Baseball. You know, Barry Bonds chasing the home run record, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa. That was one of the high points of Major League Baseball. And once they start cracking down on that, it's been crap ever since. So like I said, this past week, Julio Jones being traded to the Tennessee Titans. Now, I'll be honest, I never saw that coming. You know, they already have A.J. Brown. They like to run a lot. Never thought Tennessee Titans would be a team that he would go to. So what the packages was, Tennessee is sending a 2022 second round draft pick and a 2023 fourth round to the Falcons in exchange for Julio and a 2023 sixth round pick. Listen, Tennessee, I understand Atlanta had to unload him because of that big contract he had. And I hear people out there with their argument of he's always hurt. Tennessee won this deal. To get a player like that and not have to give up a first round pick, I knew they wouldn't give up a first round pick just, you know, flat out. I really thought Atlanta could have got a second round, conditional second round pick where, okay, if he plays 3/4 of the season, it goes to a first round pick. Kind of like the Carson Wentz deal. I think I mentioned that a couple weeks ago. Really, really surprised that wasn't part of the deal. And you know what? For the people out there saying he doesn't last a full season, you know, when I hear that he doesn't last a full season or he's always hurt, that to me is like Jadeveon Clowney. Never played more than 12 games a year, but he's a dominant pass rusher. That's what I consider always hurt, or you know, like I said before. But in Julio Jones's 10 years he's been in the NFL, there's only been 2 seasons that he played under 15 games. That was last season, which, by the way, he was on pace for like 1,500 yards receiving. And his, I believe, second year in the league, he was injured a lot. Other than that, yeah, he missed a game or missed, you know, 2 games throughout the other seasons in his career. But he's so dynamic, and to not get some type of first round pick back is astonishing. Like, I just could not believe it. I know Philly was looking at giving a first round pick, and I'm curious to see what happened there. I mean, is Atlanta that afraid to trade Julio to Philly for a first round pick because they're in the same conference? I mean, obviously Atlanta's not really going to go anywhere this year. Philly shouldn't, but playing in a division, all it takes is win the division in the playoffs. But I'm curious to see why and what happened with the talks between Philly and Atlanta there. So, like I said, I think the Titans won this trade. They're taking on the whole contract. I just saw that they restructured Tannehill to help get Jones in under the salary cap. There's $7 million of dead money still on Atlanta's book, which is better than the 22 or 23 million that was going to be his. And to make this even more of a loss for Atlanta, what do you accomplish by trading him away but still keeping Matt Ryan? You should have tried to figure out a way to trade both of them and not do a half-assed rebuild. I'm pretty sure if they were able to trade Matt Ryan for a second or a third round pick before this past draft, they could have did something and got a decent rookie quarterback to work with. I mean, you look at Philly, last year we had Carson Wentz. We drafted Jalen Hurts. Obviously, Philly felt comfortable enough with Jalen Hurts to trade Carson and not draft a quarterback this year. Atlanta could do the same thing, but to me, they're kind of doing a half-assed rebuild here. And it's really going to set them back now by doing it this way. As far as how does Julio help Tennessee? Do they become a Super Bowl contender type thing? Obviously, with Julio going to Tennessee, all the odds got better for Tennessee winning the division, winning the conference, winning the Super Bowl, all that stuff. The real winner in this is AJ Brown, because now you got to pick your poison. You can't double team both guys. You can't put single coverage on each guy. So how do you cover them? I think you're going to see, and that's the thing though too, is Tennessee likes to run. So even if they double one guy, not the other, it's kind of a moot point because they're going to run Derrick Henry. Now, are we going to see more balanced 50-50? Or are we still going to see what we've been seeing? With Derrick Henry dominating the snaps over the passing game. But if they do go 50-50, like I said, AJ Brown definitely, I believe, has won this trade, because now some of the pressure is going to be taken off of him with the double coverages. And both receivers are so dynamic that even if they do a little less, like a 60-40 more on the run side, I still think both receivers could get 1,200 yards receiving. I definitely think that could happen. And if Tennessee really wanted to, they could watch the snap count for Julio so that he's fresh for the playoffs. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, we're only, I think I saw the other day, we're 100 days away, so we're probably down to like 95 or so now. So time will tell. So up next is our Combat Corner segment, which is sponsored by BetAngles. Live scores, odds, and the best expert picks every day. Start winning today at betangles.com. So this weekend we have UFC 263, Adenise versus Vittori for the middleweight belt. This is the second time they're facing each other. First time around, Israel won that one, which helped put him on the run he was on to get the belt. Overall card, I would say it's a pretty decent card. It's a lot better than the Floyd Mayweather Paul card that happened this past week. For all you people that paid for it, I'm sorry. From what I've seen, and I'm sorry, let me take a step back here for 1 second. Well, there was Logan Paul, Jake Paul. I don't know which brother it was that fought Floyd Mayweather. He did get knocked out. If you go back and watch that clip, Floyd clipped him. You want to say he leaned into him, go ahead, but you could see his eyes were closed. Floyd kept him up just so it could go the full 8 rounds and get the full payday. So back to our UFC 263 card. Like I said, the main event is Israel Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori for the middleweight belt. The co-main event is Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno for the flyweight championship. This is a rematch from a few months ago, I believe it was. Very good fight, very entertaining fight, and it ended up in a draw. So even that night, I know Dana White came out and said they were going to run it back, and they are running it back this weekend. Before them, it's a welterweight fight, Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz coming back after a year and a half after fighting Masvidal for the BMF belt. And that one also has championship implications there. Before that, another welterweight fight, Damian Mia versus Bilal Muhammad. And then kicking off the card, it's a light heavyweight fight, Paul Craig versus Jamal Hill. So starting with that one, I got Paul Craig winning this one. It's a tough test for Hill. He's a newcomer. He's only 3-0 in the UFC, but Craig, I think, gives him his first loss in UFC after Hill. Yeah, actually, Hill's 2-0 with no contest. Paul Craig is a beast. And I could see this one being a good scrap, one of those overall good fight to kick off the card, to kick off the show. But I got Paul Craig winning. Then the match between Damian Mia versus Bilal Muhammad. I want to pick Damian Mia, but he's older now. His past few fights have been against subpar fighters, whereas Muhammad has been fighting some top tier guys. Probably would have been in championship contention if it wasn't for his last fight, which was a no contest between Leon Edwards. There was an eye poke or something like that, and that fight was stopped. But this one I have Bilal Muhammad winning it. He's just tough, he's a striker. I think he's gonna use that to keep Maya away, because if Maya gets you down to the ground, that's the only way he's gonna win against Muhammad. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is just really good, even being older now. But I think Muhammad is going to pull this out and win it. Then this next match, like I said, is interesting. It's an interesting matchup. Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz. You know how I feel about ring rust. When you don't fight for a year and a half, you're going to have some ring rust. Leon Edwards, we saw that with his last fight. Yeah, he was leading it, but could not finish Bilal Muhammad. If he was still active, maybe he would have been able to. And just the opposite for Leon Edwards. He just fought this past March. I think if Diaz loses this fight, and especially loses it bad, which a lot of people I think is going to happen, he's going to be on the road of where Donald Cowboy Cerrone is. At what point do you say to a guy, enough's enough? You know, a year and a half ago, he fought Masvidal for a made-up belt just because they were good trash talkers. And again, I mean, he's got some wear and tear on him. Whereas Leon Edwards knew how to take care of his body. Diaz, he likes to scrap, and he's always getting cut up anymore. But with that being said, I am taking Leon Edwards with the win. Dana White saying this past week that whoever wins this most likely will get a title shot between Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman, which I don't agree with. Again, Diaz hasn't fought in a year and a half. What happens if he wins? You're telling me a guy who hasn't been active gets a title shot. He's not Conor McGregor. He's not bringing those type of numbers in. And then Leon Edwards, let's just say Bilal Muhammad wins and Leon wins, I'd say run that fight back. And then if whoever wins that, they get the title shot. After that fight is the co-main event. Figueroa versus Brandon Moreno for the flyweight championship. I remember watching that fight, and Moreno looked good, but Figueroa seemed a little quicker. Moreno was taking a lot of heavy shots, so that's why I'm going to go with Figueroa here. Because also Moreno has a hard time finishing people. He only has one finish in his last 5 fights, which also includes 2 draws, which means he can't get over that hump. He doesn't know how to finish, it feels like. Whereas the champ knows how to finish. I think I saw 3 of his last 5 fights were all finishes, whether it be knockout or submission. Then the main event is Israel Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori. Adesanya is just on a different level than everybody else. I think with his striking, he's going to be able to keep Vettori at bay. And I don't want to say this may be a boring one, but I have a feeling this one's going to go to decision. And Adesanya is going to pull off the win here. So that is my fight picks for Combat Corner. Sponsored by BetAngles, live scores, odds, and the best expert picks every day. Start winning today at betangles.com. So I think that's going to be it for us today, for this week. But before I go, I just want to re-mention, make sure you guys head over to staytunesports.net, follow all our social media accounts and our merch tab up top. Also visit www.buymeacoffee.com/stsports if you want to help support the show, whether it's 10 cents, $1, and I'm still learning a little bit about the page itself, so maybe I'll learn, other ways you guys could help sponsor the show. And all that will do is help me get better giveaways. Maybe if I get enough money together, I could do a signed jersey giveaway or something like that. You never know. But make sure you guys tune in this Friday on YouTube at 3YTV for the Stay Tuned Sports Truck Series. One last shout out to Ben Adams. Thank you for your support. This is your good friend Jimbo. I'm out.